And there you go, folks. We're playing our intro music and our casting. You can't hear it though, but it's magical. The magic of post-production. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 102 of the Geek Bytes podcast. I am Ramon Mejia, this guy's
Edgardo, Acosta.
And every single podcast we bring you folks the roundup of the week's best geek and tech news. We discuss that news, of course, anything else that we're interested in that week, which kind of could be anything sometimes. But this week in geek news, we're talking about
Robots that make you coffee. Robots that carry your stuff. Robots playing Batman. The Batman losing his director. Doctor Who losing a doctor. Some great superhero TV news. And much, much more.
Absolutely. And of course, we're going to begin our show, though, with geek news. Now, in the geek news, we're going to begin with our first top story, which is going to be for Oculus.
Yeah, which I did not see this coming. A jury has decided Facebook subsidiary Oculus must pay ZeniMax $500 million for the violation of a non-disclosure agreement by Oculus founder Palmer Luckey. Luckey had worked as a contractor for ZeniMax before launching his Kickstarter to start Oculus. The jury found that the Oculus was not guilty of misappropriating trade secrets. ZeniMax was seeking $4 billion instead of the fine breaks down, with Oculus owing only $200 million.
Only, yeah.
For breaking the NDA, and $50 million for copyright infringement. Oculus Luckey must pay $50 million each for $50 million each for false designation. And Oculus co-founder Brendan Irib. Yeah.
Yep, Iribi.
Oh, there we go. Must pay $150 million for the same charge. Facebook plans to appeal the ruling. Keep in mind that last year's Facebook report at $8.81 billion in revenue.
Yep. So I think Facebook can afford to pay this off if they want to. They're obviously going to fight it because $500 million is no small chump change. But even if they had to pay it, their bottom line isn't going to be hurt in the line. But this was kind of a really interesting VR case, just because of the amount of drama that's been involved with Oculus Rift, being like an indie startup company coming out of the gate with this new fancy virtual reality product, and the whole drama behind them getting help from with some very famous game designers. John Carmack, who at the time was working for id Software, who was later bought by ZeniMax, and then they retroactively almost claimed that they stole technology that made virtual reality possible, and that resource essentially being the person, John Carmack, who now works for Oculus. So there's probably some technical, issues that are involved of like them poaching, intellectual resources in the form of somebody who's a great game designer and tech person. But as far as like them stealing the virtuality thing, like that doesn't make any sense. They're just trying to get a payday, and it's only that in this case only came about after they were bought by Facebook for like billions of dollars. They was like, we want our piece of the pie, and they kind of got it.
It's almost a semi-shady business tactic, but I believe it has to be more than that.
It is legal, but it's just that. It kind of like, ZeniMax is just looking for a good payday. I'm like, I get it, but...
That or somebody bang somebody's wife or something like that. Because it's more one of those, like, unless jealousy, you have something we want.
It sort of is, and that ZeniMax almost... I think ZeniMax almost feels like they lost out on the opportunities. They were offered an early investment opportunity in Oculus, but ZeniMax wanted like 80 or 90% of the company. And Oculus was like, no, it's fine. I mean, Palmer Luckey was essentially just like a one-man team.
Yeah.
And he didn't take their offer. And instead, started his own company, and with the help of a lot of other great, interesting, and good-willed and technical people, made it something. And Facebook was like, hey, this is the future. We're going to invest. And, brought it under their wing. And now they're doing a whole virtual reality division of Facebook. Mm-hmm. So it does seem to be like a matter of sour grapes.
Oh, yeah, seriously. Because, it's the same technology. How come you couldn't make one better yourself?
Because they didn't think about it first. And there's, they feel bad about
Bitter.
it. Yep. Okay, also in some other great tech news, we have a CafeX opening in San Francisco. Now, this is a robotics automated coffee barista. Founder Henry Hugh noticed that baristas spend a majority of their time moving cups around while making espresso drinks. Go to Starbucks, you see the stuff happening. So much like anyone else's natural reaction, he decided to build a fully mechanized coffee shop. At scale, CafeX should be able to increase margins within the industry by reducing wait times for hurried patrons. Customers visiting CafeX's first U.S. location in the AMC Metron in San Francisco will be able to order the espresso drink involving milks and flavorings on site at kiosk or in advance from a dedicated app. So this is kind of a cool bit of technology. It really does look like a robotic arm that's moving cups around and automatically, putting flavors into it, which it doesn't seem that complicated. I never understood why.
They're just making it more elaborate visually because it's no different than a coffee vending machine.
No, yeah, absolutely. Well, sort of. I think there are limitations on like what a coffee vending machine can do as far as like blending.
Getting your name right at the end?
Yeah, misspelling it every single time. Yeah, I think that would be a nice added feature. You might pay a couple extra cents for to have that, that real authentic coffee experience. But yeah, it's cool robotic stuff for me.
Yeah. I always liked it. Visually, you always like to see the things. There's a certain, even like, once again, like a vending machine. There's this one vending machine where, you can pop your dollar, get your cotton candy. There's actually a vending machine that actually does the whole steering process, which is awesome. It's entertainment. It's really, to be honest, it's all visual entertainment. Because what's the difference of for getting your coffee from a vending machine or even having it like prefabricated and you just buy it already complete and done? If you want to save time, you want to save all that effort, yes, have it all pre-selected, have pre-all made, have it pre-all done. But to be honest, it's just for show. It's just for the show.
No, absolutely. It's for the show, but it's also, there's a legitimate purpose behind this. This guy did just do this as a neat marketing campaign. Coffee houses have notoriously lower margins. Starbucks is probably the most successful because they're willing to charge you $5 or $6 for a drink. But if you can get the same exact coffee experience or similar one for like half the price, then this machine can kind of outdo Starbucks in a way.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. And so by lowering costs, by taking out the human element necessarily,
of course,
then this can actually be a viable business model. But it's not that cheap coffee necessarily. It's still home ground, fresh milk, fresh espresso machine, and those espresso machines do take a little bit of technical work to work correctly. So
yeah, and of course,
this is a legitimate business, but I think it's kind of cool.
It's like those talks about semi machines replacing man. Obviously, you don't have to worry about sick days, you don't have to worry about insurance, you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
Nope, 24-hour day service.
There you
Absolutely. Go. Now moving into our next tech story, we have.
Let's see.
The scary robot.
Okay, I was going to say, wait. Scared by those Boston Dynamic robots that walk like people? Venture capitalist Steve Jurvetson shared footage from a recent Boston Dynamics presentation of a robots that use a pair of Segway-like wheels. The robot called Handle can balance its own weight according to speed, movement, and terrain, though it does seem designed for smoother areas. Boston Dynamics also teased a new creepy robot with legs called Harmony. That's right, Boston Dynamics make them faster than people for the robot apocalypse.
Yeah, I thought that was a great idea. Boston Dynamics is a very interesting, well advanced robotic making company, and they just keep making their robots faster and stronger than people. And like, I feel like we're digging our own ditch. For the robot apocalypse. Oh yeah, we make them faster than us, we make them stronger than us, and they're gonna murder us in the robot apocalypse.
As long as depending how long it lasts, the main 3 rules of robotics,
Yeah, but none of those actually exist. I mean, those are scientific things, in that you would hardwire those into an AI so that they can over it. But these are just this was in the case was the Segway, a murdery looking Segway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's faster than me. I can't run that fast.
Yeah, I saw the movie.
Exactly, hunting you down.
Especially that you saw that one video, and some jokesters, like in a funny way, like Funny or Die, added some audio or for this robot, kept calling this douchebag Kevin an asshole, because every time it would try to pick up a box, Kevin would knock it out of his hands try to kick the robot in the quasi chest thingy just to make it look off balance. But it's to show that it gets self-stand, no
self-right, and keep working the task even when things distract it. Yeah,
exactly.
I know real people who can't do that.
No.
Yeah.
I kick a lot of people in the chest.
I know, and they just stop working. It's weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Also in robotic news, we have the robotic luggage cart thing. It's actually a really cool video. It's much better to see it than to hear me talk about it. But it's called the Gita. It's developed by Piaggio, an Italian automotive company who makes various light Vespa-like scooters. This is an experimental new way of transporting stuff for a robot. It has a top speed of up to 22 miles per hour. It can store up to 40 pounds of whatever you're going to throw in it, and it basically follows you around. It's essentially like a little robot helper that follows you without you having to touch it or move it or anything. It can track where you're going. It can kind of make its own path. Like even if you lose it, like you walked too far ahead of it, it'll still follow where you went. So it's a very cool design. It's super cool. You have to see the video to kind of see what it's talking about. But it's absolutely amazing, kind of cool thing. I'm like, oh yeah, this is the kind of robot that I would love to have. It's not that smart. It's just a follower and it holds things, but it's kind of cool.
I already have morbid thoughts about that thing. Obviously, it probably follows you by your app, your GPS location kind of thing on your phone. I say strap that to somebody's back, add a sharp, pointy knife at the end of it, and extend it longer than the distance allows. So that way, when it gets too close, it gives you a little jab in the back. Kind of a little motivation. Good for people for wanting to lose some weight at the gym.
Oh, so you're trying to? It's like the Rocky thing where he's running behind him and motivating him. Yeah, you run faster than this.
Exactly. If
kind of thing.
It won't stab you if you keep running in front of the knife. And I'm like, all right.
That is absolutely murderous of you, man. I can't believe you. Who thinks about that? I just thought this was a cool new alternative luggage.
Electrical prod.
Whatever. Somebody was thinking about it, I guess.
More humane.
Yeah. But it doesn't track you by GPS. It actually tracks you apparently by. It actually the user wears a video belt, and the robot behind you tries to match the same images that it's seeing through your belt. So it's kind of tracking your path that way. I'm sure it'll also use GPS and other things to see your general location. But this way it can kind of identify in advance, like where my person is going.
Hopefully you don't have a twin right next to you.
Well, no, it's the same. Yeah, I'm sure there are technical hurdles to overcome, but it's kind of a cool piece of tech.
No, I like it. I've seen some other ones that they try to make it more people friendly, like the luggage you can ride.
Yeah.
Yes, but hey,
this one's odd, man. Like it's kind of cool. Look, almost reminding me of like the BB-8 robot.
Yeah, exactly.
That was kind of the nostalgia feel.
Minus the little.
Like it's cute, it's blue, and it follows me everywhere. It's like a little robot puppy that holds stuff. So there you go. On to some entertainment news, though.
Yeah, Peter Capaldi announces he's leaving Doctor Who.
Yep.
Already the final series for a longtime lead writer and executive producer Stephen Moffat. It's long been speculated that Capaldi would leave the series following the upcoming 10th. And during a radio appearance on BBC Radio 2, Capaldi dropped the bomb that yes, he will indeed leave the show after Series 10 bows, slated to premiere on April 15th. So
yeah, it's too bad we're losing another Doctor for the Doctor Who franchise. But I think this was inevitable. Once you have showrunners, it's not like it's a bad show at all. It's just that they're becoming kind of famous and very in demand. I mean, you think of Amy and Rory Pond, who were like a couple the Doctor before this one. She is in Guardians of the Galaxy. He is in a show, that superhero show on the CW, the Legends of Tomorrow, and they've done a bunch of other movies and entertainment stuff. So they're getting paid more, and that's what happens when you get famous.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with Stephen Moffat. He's off directing other things that are much bigger, better paying projects. Same thing with. Benedict Cumberbatch. I mean, started off on Sherlock, and I mean, he's done other things, of course, but he blew up on that show, and now he's Doctor Strange. I mean, so it's kind of the course of the action. I mean, so it makes sense, but I'm kind of curious to see who replaces him. There are rumors that it's going to actually be a woman this time, possibly.
What do you think? What's going to happen? Which kind of Doctor will be replaced? Female Doctor, or any other race but white?
I would say female Doctor is more likely first, because they are going to have a brown companion. The new companion is going to be like a funny, brown girl. Well, she's black, but brown persons. So like that,
not white.
They have one there, and so I think they've met their BBC quota for that.
BBC.
So yeah, just like having two is like, oh no, now it feels too black or too brown.
And then it's gonna be like the BT version of Doctor Who.
Yeah, the two B's in BBC do not stand for black or colored.
Yeah, making Britain great again, I guess.
Yep, there you go. Also, in some entertainment news, we have Batman, the movie, the standalone Batman film called The Batman is losing its director. Ben Affleck has stepped down from the project. Or yay, depending on who you ask.
He's an Oscar award winner writer.
And director, yeah, so he can probably do it well, but he'd already said he was not going to do it if the script wasn't good.
Oh, then...
So it kind of indicates, well, maybe the script isn't so awesome. It was written by Chris Terrio, who is the screenwriter on Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice, and also in the Justice League. And the Batman versus Superman movie got a lot of criticism based on that screenplay, not necessarily on the actors, abilities.
So I'm guessing Affleck is doing the Batman, being Batman.
He's still Batman, yeah.
But he's not actually wants to take credit for the...
He doesn't want to take the hit on it and all the press and all the criticisms that are occurring before shooting even starts now. It might be a thing. Yeah, it's very much like it's not worth out. I'm pretty sure he's having flashbacks to Daredevil at this point. Like those kind of comments from the internet.
And they will not.
And like the paycheck isn't worth it. He's like he's probably getting paid more as Batman than the director.
Oh yeah.
So. Rather than take the risk, he's just like, okay, I'll just be in it. Yeah. It's less of a hassle, which is cool still.
We'll see. Well, I still haven't heard any details, so we don't know who the villain is or anything like that. But we'll see how it turns out.
Yep.
All right. Next flick is director Denis Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Of Arrival and Sicario fame is officially signed to direct the upcoming Dune reboot. The news was confirmed by Brian Herbert of Frank Herbert, who wrote the original 1965 Dune novel.
Yeah, so this is kind of cool. They finally got a director for it. This has been talked about for decades, as far as like remaking that original like 1980s film, the one with Patrick Stewart and a bunch of other famous people. Mm-hmm. It's a dated film. The special effects don't really hold up that well, but the core storyline is very interesting and favorites of fans everywhere. And so to reboot it makes a lot of sense, and to do it with somebody who has a great artistic style. I mean, I loved Arrival. It's a very interesting film. It is more of a thinky film than an action film, though.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure on, like, honestly, Dune never really grabbed my attention. I did try. If I say try, it was on.
It's a very thinky film.
Yeah, because
very thinky book. Yeah,
they did. I think Sci-Fi Channel actually did a small little like TV movie ish.
Yeah, Dune they did related. A mini series of it of like not just Dune but also Children of Dune, like the first 3 books in that series. And the series gets kind of long and it gets really esoteric and future fling. Like the first 3 books are probably set in like a 20-year period between like the main character and then like his kids and their effect in this world and in this universe, and then it jumps ahead like 200 years, and things get really weird after that. But like the first core 3 films are definitely favorites, and they're very interesting in sci-fi speculation. So that's kind of a fun genre for sci-fi fans. Mm-hmm. Do you know what this core storyline about of Dune is?
Taking place in the desert. Sort of.
It is, but it's also about political intrigue in a future sci-fi world where people are able to span, planets thanks to a rare chemical called spice. And it comes from this one planet that's a desert world called Dune. And whoever controls that planet and that resource kind of controls the expansion of the entire galaxy and all the space trading and all the fairs. So it's a very rare resource. Okay. And so the politics involved in who controls it, force versus, political maneuvering and like houses dropping and falling. It's very much along like the political consequences of like something like Game of Thrones, like before Game of Thrones was ever written. So there's a bunch of cool things there, but it's also some action and adventure and some really unique sci-fi elements like mentats and mind stuff and like gigantic worms and, things like that. So that's kind of the appeal of it. Yeah. So that's me geeking out a little bit about Dune, folks.
Hey, everybody has their thing.
It's in the show's name. We geek out about stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on to our next bit of entertainment news, we have Supergirl casting news. We have 2 new Supergirl characters for the next season of Supergirl. We have Kevin Sorbo and Terry Hatcher. You might remember Kevin Sorbo. He was Hercules in the Adventures of Hercules, and Terry Hatcher was Lois Lane in the Adventures of Lois Lane and Clark Kent, or Superman and Lois Lane. I can't remember.
Just Lois and Clark.
Lois and Clark. That's it. So she was Lois of Lois and Clark, which is not a show about frontiersmen in like Mississippi or anything. The details of the characters aren't really well known, but it's been described as CW as mysterious roles and the big bads of the next season. So there you go. Some interesting casting news.
Yeah, hopefully they'll have a little reunion because Mr. Dean Cain's in it, and hopefully they'll do a little not crossover, but at least interaction.
Well, Dean Cain is like her dad, her like adopted father.
Yeah,
and so it kind of makes sense they would pull her in for that little crossover thing. Yeah. She's a bad guy here. He is going to be a bad guy. They're not really saying who they are specifically. I'm assuming Kryptonians because they're too pretty to put them in makeup.
Well, they didn't show them exactly unless they were kind of hidden in the background or whatnot. I remember when that little prison thing got released, and there might be one of those couple of prisoners that
Yeah, I believe there were a bunch of Kryptonians on the ship, like bad Kryptonians. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, might be that case. I'm thinking that that's what it's going to be, unless they're going to try to tie it into the larger DC universe, Apocalypse or something coming down, and then these are some of his agents. Maybe that would be kind of a cool twist.
Because they're not ancient, but they are kind of older, so I can't really picture them as any of the
their screenshots aren't accurate anymore. But we never know. But I'm always looking forward to cool cameos from people.
Hopefully, Agents of Apocalypse.
Yeah, actually, who was it? Kevin Smith's daughter did a cameo on Supergirl for his episode.
Oh, really?
The one that he directed for Supergirl.
What she do /
She was just like a side character who was but like
I thought she was kind of
you saw Harley Quinn Smith there. I'm like, oh yeah, I know that chick. She was in Yoga Hosers.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably her Yoga Hoser character, just kind of wearing the thing. I'm like, oh,
definitely could be. Now, this to me next story is some very good Transformer news.
Director Michael B. Bay has announced that Transformers: The Last Night will be his last Transformers movie. Then again, he's also said that for every one of his Transformer films. Yeah,
so we don't really know if it's true, but he's saying it that the Transformers Last Night, which actually looks kind of cool and interesting from the trailers. Like, this is the first Transformers film that I thought I might go see in the movie theater instead of watching it from my television when it comes out on DVD or cable or Netflix or whatever. Might be his last one, or I don't think it's going to be the last one in the franchise. They make too much money, but it might be the last one that he does.
It's almost getting to the point that it's just like Bryan Singer's X-Men for me. He's like, I'm probably going to wind up coughing up the money to go watch it in theater just because I'm a big fan of the Transformers. But I wasn't happy with the direction that we're going to it. But we'll see. Hopefully, I always give everything a chance. Hopefully they'll... Yeah,
if you just go for like an action robot fighting robots in disguise thing, then you're totally satisfied. Yeah. I mean, the original storyline was not an amazing plotline either. It was robots in disguise fighting other robots in disguise.
Yeah.
So can't ask for more than they're giving you. They never promised you an epic, mind-bending journey.
Yeah, I would love just for like a kind of a joke to bring back Shia LaBeouf and whatnot, was it Spike Wiki or what? Something else with Wiki.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Him just going to like Optimus and out of nowhere just get squished.
Just like a 1 second cameo.
Like, oops.
Yeah, that would be. Bad. Yeah, that depends on how much they pay him. I'm sure they wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So that's it. That's all we'll see.
Now, in some other entertainment news, we have The Runaways on Hulu. Hulu has announced they have picked up The Runaways for a full season, not just a pilot episode, and they've also introduced the cast. Now, I don't know who any of these kids are. I recognize their characters, but I don't know who any of the actors are, so there's no point in me telling you. I can show you guys in the audience who these people are and
visually
their characters. Like they kind of match the people that they're portraying, but good-looking kids playing characters is all I can see.
Well, it's one of the pros about that. Unless they did some work. When you're young, you're obviously very limited, because eventually puberty happens. You grow up, you develop things, and
Yeah, but all these kids are basically in their 20s. They just look younger.
Exactly. because their what do you call it? Their claim to fame, their 15 minutes or whatever, doesn't last that long. Ask any Nickelodeon star, ask any Disney star. Um, but we'll see. Unless they, of course, they hopefully learn from their previous celebrity, real world people, where they, don't screw around, don't ask for a lot of money, don't be too demanding if you want to.
Yeah, become famous and spin it off in other roles if you can,
or,
and become a better actor while you're at it.
Avoid the drugs, avoid the late night parties, avoid that kind of stuff. But
But this is not Disney; it's Hulu. I mean, so this is a more solid piece without all the properties around. Like Disney stars have to have a clean image, or otherwise they get canceled. I mean, it's kind of set, but with a Hulu property, they can be rated R, and the show can still do really well. They can still be real regular kids without all that pressure necessarily. They don't have to have that Disney stigma necessarily. So it kind of depends on how the show goes. This property of the Runaways is not. It's more mature than any kind of teeny bopper. Yeah. Television show. There are themes of adult betrayals. Your parents are supervillains. There's still the angsty teen thing going on, but there's also sex, drugs, and rock and roll. All right. So it's a much more mature teen property potentially.
We'll see. I totally would give it a shot. So
yeah, it's going to be full Hulu season. So Hulu sees enough in it to invest in a whole season instead of just like a pilot episode. So I think that's a good sign. Okay, moving on to some more entertainment news. We have
Marvel's Cloak and Dagger. Olivia Holt and Aubrey Joseph have been officially cast in their star roles of Freeform's Cloak and Dagger series. The live-action interracial romance follows the duo of two teenagers from very different backgrounds who find themselves burdened and awakened to newly acquired superpowers while falling in love. Tandy can emit light daggers, and Tyrone has the ability to engulf others in darkness, then quickly learn that they are better together than apart. But their feelings for each other make their already complicated world even more challenging.
Now, what do you think is going to be the bigger story plotline, the powers or the interracial romance?
To me, it's all about the powers. I don't care what color you are. You could be green, spotted, whatever.
Well, I didn't say what one you will like. I said which one do you think is more prominent in the show?
Well, my thing is... Well, I'm going to go with powers.
Okay.
Powers for sure. But have you ever watched Spider-Man, like Web Warriors and whatnot?
Not the Web Warrior was, but I've seen the Spider-Man
Sinister
Six? XL, whatever it's called.
Oh, versus Sinister Six. They actually have the Cloak and Dagger character in there.
But they're the grown-up versions, aren't they?
That's the thing. They're more aiming towards the younger version. So, like, teens for sure, not their 20s or whatever, but they do have a young Cloak and young Dagger characters, and I was wondering, I don't know why Cloak and Dagger out of all of them, to me the only time I ever got exposed to the Cloak and Dagger characters was playing Maximum Carnage, and it was just like jumping characters,
combo characters
would come out and just show their powers, do their powers, whatever, then just jump right off the screen again.
Well, this is one of the very few, I think, long running romance series for Marvel. Like there's the Jean Grey Cyclops romance, and then there's kind of this. Everything else is more like for a few parts of the franchise or so, a couple of comic episodes, and that's it. But as far as like long running series romance stories, this is kind of it. I mean, and this is the one that some other company doesn't own.
Yeah, because to me, once again, they're not that popular to me. I don't know who their equivalent, their villains are going to be. So I'm not going to say it's going to be the next Guardians of the Galaxy, but I will give it a chance. No,
this is definitely another like, what can we get for the teens who are growing up with this stuff?
Freeform television.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, this is it, and I get that. But hopefully, I still hope it's done well, and is interesting. Not that I have freeform television, but I'll probably find it somewhere on the internet. Okay, on to some J.J. Abrams zombie Nazis. I know, that's a great title, isn't it? J.J. Abrams and his Bad Robot Company are producing a World War II supernatural thriller called Overlord. The film follows two paratroopers who are caught behind enemy lines after the plane crashes on a mission to destroy a German radio tower in a small town outside of Normandy during the D-Day invasion. After reaching their target, the two paratroopers come to realize that besides fighting off Nazi soldiers, they must also combat against the supernatural forces that are a result of secret Nazi experiments. Zombie Nazis, folks. That's all you really need to know. They're going to be zombie Nazis.
That's. Oh, I'm thinking of this other B movie called Surf Nazi Ninjas. That's an actual movie too. But yeah, it sounds like a total B movie. But heck, they can make it work. They can make it work. People are gonna watch it. Everybody loves zombies. Certain people like Nazis. So if they combine the two,
Well, I think people like Nazis as bad guys and zombies as bad guys. So mushing them together kind of makes sense. And it is a kind of a well-known fact that Hitler and the Nazi regime were interested in supernatural experiments, and so there is like sort of a very loose historical basis for this kind of storyline.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's probably along the lines like just a fun thing for J.J. Abrams to throw his money at.
It's gonna be interesting. Like I said, it just gives me the B movie film, like that one movie that you would see.
Yeah, which is fine.
That nobody really wants, but they'll check it out. Anyway.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams can kind of do whatever he wants. He can write his own ticket and make whatever movie he wants, and people were going to spend money to watch it.
He did Star Wars.
Because he did Star Wars and some other things.
Yeah.
Okay, on to some game news.
Yeah, Sony adds PlayStation 4 hard drive support. The PlayStation blog announced this week that the latest PS4 update supports USB 3.0 hard drives up to 8 terabyte in size, and you will be given the option to install and download games directly to the external hard drive. Also, the application saved in the external hard drive will appear in the content launcher of a home screen, so it's easy to track of what your apps you launched recently.
Yep,
That is awesome.
It's kind of cool. It's about time. It's definitely one of those things that fans have been saying for a really long time if they want it. There are plenty of tutorials online of like how to replace your hard drive on your PS4 or your Xbox One, but this just seems like it makes sense. They already have the ports. It was just adding the software support to it, and now it is. So it's simple as plug and play.
That's making me want to get a PS4 even more now because I do have an Xbox One, and they made it easy. It's literally plug it in. What do you call it? Convert or whatever. You're set. That's it.
Format the hard drive.
There you go. Format, and you're done.
Yeah, this one's it's just as easy. I mean, and 8 terabytes. I mean, if you that's more than enough space than you're probably ever going to use for any kind of system. But downloading games does make it a lot easier to just kind of switch back and forth down to get up to change out a disc, and that's kind of the way I see the game systems going. More downloads than discs. So it's kind of cool. Now, in some other gaming news, the Nintendo Switch may actually get some virtual reality functionality. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Nintendo Switch is Nintendo's latest and greatest console. It's coming out in March. It goes from a television game console to a tablet game console with very little minimum. If you literally take it out of the docking station and it's good to go on the road, you can play it multiplayers, whatever. Now, the latest rumor, which has been sort of confirmed by the president of Nintendo, Tatsumi Kishima. He stated that the company was studying ways to add virtual reality elements and features to the Switch console, which is kind of cool to me. Virtual reality has been kind of a buzzword in the last couple years, especially with the Oculus Facebook thing. But in his own words, he says, if we are able to resolve the issues with playing virtual reality comfortably for long hours, we will support it in one form or another. So if they can do it, great. I mean, they might just end up, because they already have a tablet for it. So if they can just put in some kind of headset and
might be a little big, but it's workable.
That just means you have a bigger field of view. Or they might just give you an entirely different peripheral device that connects to it wirelessly. As something else for you to buy, and that might be the way to do it, because this console definitely doesn't have the processing power of either the PS4 or the Xbox One as it is. Its gimmick is the fact that it's good to go with the exact same game without any additional buying power. It's just the game you're playing on the television screen is slightly prettier, but you take it out of its little cradle and you can just play the exact same game without saving on the go. And that's kind of their gimmick and their play in this, in adding the mobile experience to their video game console. So why not add also the virtuality experience if it's going to be viable? Makes sense to me.
It's going to be cool. I don't know how, once again, if they decide to put the tablet in a headset, yes, you're going to be buying more hardware in a way, but I don't know. If they manage to work our phones to slip in that little headset thing to become a virtual headpiece, why not? Because I think as long as they don't go and no offense to them, Sony with that $399 headgear,
the PSVR.
Yes, plus
PlayStation.
your console, plus your games, plus.
Well, it's still that experience is still less expensive than the Oculus Rift or the HTC Vive. Those cost thousands of dollars for the correct maxed out hardware for your computer system, and then another $600 to $800 for the headset and the controller stuff. So $800 all in for a virtual reality experience isn't unreasonable. It's probably out of the price range for a lot of people, but if Nintendo, this console's already what, $300. So even if you double it for a virtual reality experience, that's still $600. So they're to be undercutting these other people's. So there you go.
As long as they make it worth it and fun.
Yep. Now, last bit of gaming news for the show. We have Pillars of Eternity 2. Dead Fire hits $1 million in 24 hours on Kickstarter. Now, if you're not sure what Pillar of Eternity is, it is it feels like an indie role-playing game. It harkens back to older role-playing games like Baldur's Gate, where it's third-person perspective. But in this case, it's so complicated and interesting. There's so many magic combinations where they're interacting with the elements and the environment to create different effects. It was super cool, but it was also a Kickstarter game. Like, they raised millions of dollars for it to give people all the features they want, and they're repeating this effect for this sequel. Obsidian Entertainment has opted to go with a different platform this time called Fig, in which users can not only just give their money to support a project, but also actually invest in the company and get a part of the profits back.
Sweet.
So it's a kind of a step up above Kickstarter as far as like investing goes. And sometimes we lose our cameras, everyone. That's why we should probably add other things there. But it's kind of a cool project. And as of this writing, of course, they've already raised over $2 million for the project, which is a huge amount for even a game company. So there you go. And last time they fulfilled all their promises, so it's not like they didn't deliver, and so people are more likely to invest here. So I think I showed you this game when I got it.
Yeah, it was interesting because I wasn't sure what to expect out of it. Like any kind of with me, obviously I'm not a huge RPG guy at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
But if it can catch you, if it gets your attention, then actually gets you to pick up a controller and play, then hopefully they get their hooks on you, and hey, it's something you're into. It's not for everybody, but to each their own, I guess.
To each their own, but it's kind of a cool gaming news if you're into that story and that kind of gaming. It's kind of cool. Okay, on to we have a couple trailers that we liked for this week, and then we'll end the show, folks. We're going to begin with
the final Beauty and the Beast trailer. This final trailer for Disney's live-action remake of the Beauty and the Beast is pretty much the tour straight through the movie. But here you'll probably already know the story. It actually works pretty well. It's the animated feature with fleshy people. Mostly it comes out on March 17th.
Yep, so it's not really that far away. You're going to get your Nintendo Switch, and then you can go watch this movie and probably buy the video game adaptation for it.
And I got to give credit. What's her name? Hermione?
Hermione Granger?
Yeah, Emma Watson?
Yeah, that's it. No, she's Hermione Granger, always.
She gets pipes. She could sing. She surprised me. I was like, I wasn't sure if they were going to go just live action, like the
Jungle Book?
Like the Jungle Book and Maleficent, but they sang.
No, this is definitely a musical live action film, and beat for beat, it hits a lot of the same notes that the original animated film does, and I think that's good in my opinion. I like having real faces, but I love also the Disney songs and that Disney feel, which some of the live action versions didn't have as much.
No.
I'm not a huge fan of like the way the Beast looks, but I get that they had to change things up to make it feel different than the animated film.
Of course.
But it's still kind of cool. They get a lot of the same songs, which I'm cool with. I'm just sad that they didn't get Angela Lansbury to play the teapot again.
That's true. But...
Like she's still alive. She still has a voice. So like, why not let her do the voiceover work? Yeah, but it's still a cool trailer. I liked it. Now on to our very last trailer for the week, and then the end of the show, folks. The Handmaiden's Tale. Now, The Handmaiden's Tale looks gorgeous, tense, and deeply creepy. It follows the story follows Offred as she is forced to abandon a life of freedom and become a type of concubine, surrogate, servant in a dystopian future where the United States is broken into smaller, radicalized states. It's a story about subjugation, identity, gender roles, and how culture shapes us. And ultimately, the rebellion against, the man. The show premieres April 26th on Hulu. It's definitely a cool trailer, cool storyline. Have you ever read the Handmaid's Tale?
First I've ever heard of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
You'll
it's
probably
been
like
out-
this better than the book. The book gets a little bit dry, but it's one of those books they make you read in school.
Has it been out for like ever?
I think it came out in like the 70s. Don't quote me, folks.
Whoa.
Don't get mad at me.
I was gonna say.
But it's a speculative story about a future in which like radiation occurred and the United States broke up into different smaller states. And there's war in between the factions, and the founders of one particular state or community start kidnapping people and forcing them to bury their children, to like repopulate the earth. There's also a lot of things about women's rights and how women are viewed within society as baby makers, and that's their role, and how they should rebel or at least question those kind of roles. But it's really interesting, and I have always liked the book because it's a thinker book, which I'm into. But for a lot of people, it's going to be more palatable. There's also like I want to say like an 80s movie version of this, which isn't as good as the book to me, but this might be better.
Cool.
So there you go, folks. That's it for the show. Hope you enjoyed us geeking out about a bunch of tech, gaming, movie, entertainment stuff. We had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This guy's falling asleep. He needs to get some coffee.
Yeah.
But that's it for the show, folks. If you want to find out all the ways to help and support the podcast, if you like this one or the Little RPG Podcast, which is the other thing we do, you can find out all the ways to do so at
geekbytespodcast.com/support.
There you go, folks. But thanks for listening and watching for Geek Bytes Podcast. I am Ramon Mejia.
I'm Edgardo Acosta.
And remember, folks, to go geek out about something.